We have a good time together.
Thanks, man.
I think you guys are going to have a good time. And you know what it is today? It's actually a very special show today. This show happens only once every 4 years.
Oh, wow.
It's the only show I've ever done on a leap year. This day only happens every 4 years. You are witnessing a show that can only happen in 4 more years. Hopefully we're still here, right, Blaine?
Yeah. This is history, though. Breaking. I mean, it's amazing.
Okay, my friends, we are talking about a couple awesome things today. First off, we are talking about Dune. Dune 2. It's a non-spoiler. Not so much a review, more like a discussion. I guess a short review because I'm going to tell you guys what I thought about it. And I'm sure Blaine has some thoughts too.
I have a couple.
Yeah. We're also talking about the new Matthew Vaughn universe because looks like he's kicking off a new kick-off spinoff called The Stuntman. And if you recall, he did talk about having a third franchise as part of his overall universe. So that's going to be cool. Superman Legacy is in the news again. It's actually popping off the page. We got photo leaks of the super suit. We're going to look at those today. And there's some hints at a Justice League setup in the next movie because of their shooting schedule. I thought that was very interesting. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's they've piqued my interest. I'm curious to see what comes out of all that.
Yeah. Also, I never thought I would say these words, but Dr. Phil is based.
Like, bro, yeah.
What?
Blew my mind. When you sent that to me, I was just like, and watching those ladies' faces.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that. I'm sure that's going to be copyright hell, but you know what? Whatever. Mm-hmm. When you watch the Barbie movie, did you ever think of the Barbie movie as sheer hell? Because that...
Yeah.
And you know what? Other people feel the same way. Also, the Deadpool 3 villain has been confirmed. And so that's going to be fun. And if we can get to it, we're going to talk about Trump being removed from the Illinois primary ballot by some random Cook County judge, which just seems wrong to me. A lot of good stuff. Also, I asked Blaine, I'm trying to do a new thing with our hosts. You know, I want to be more connected with the co-host while Shane's on a sabbatical. So I asked Blaine to come up with a personal story. A story that is funny and personal to him that he normally wouldn't share on a live stream. And I'm going to try to back that up with something that's similar. And we'll probably do that in the members section. So it's going to be a great show today. But before we go into this amazing show, I want to remind everyone that we are supported 100% by you guys. We barely make a single a dollar off of ad revenues. And aside from Blaine and like I think it was HelloFresh, we don't really have sponsors on this channel. So thank you for being members. And if you want to be a member today, if you want to support the channel, hit the membership button below. We are going to try to get some members today. And if you want to gift memberships, dude, please do it. That's awesome. Because we're going to be dumping in a lot more members content as we go. In fact, videos clips that don't perform very well on the Clips channel. Maybe they're a little too political. Maybe they're a little too hot takes. Maybe there's a little too much cursing. We're going to be dropping those in the members section only. So hit the subscribe, hit the join button, and become a member if you're not already a member. Also, speaking of support, we are sponsored by criticlist.com, and we made this little commercial for you, Blaine.
Sponsored by criticlist.com.
Why even bother with sites like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb or Reddit? These cesspools of scum and villainy do not deserve your patronage. So many critics that just couldn't give a bad review to a bad movie, that refused to call out Hollywood for their constant, relentless battering of all things artistic. The same people that get up in the morning and say, how can I be a professional victim today, can't handle real criticism. But Criticlist.com does not shy away from real, honest critique. It not only embraces but promotes honest reviews from real people. Get over there today and check out our awesome reviews, our list, and a bunch of reviews from all of our friends who daily fight the good fight of injecting honesty and common sense into the giant Hollywood machine. Check it out today.
Criticlist.com.
Very cool. Love it.
Yeah, I figured so. You know what? I kept reading it every week, and I'm like, you know what? I never do a great job. I'm not the best reader, you know. And I'm like, I'm just gonna produce that so that it's much easier, and it's easier that way, and it sounds cooler. So, anyways,
Right.
thank you for that, Blaine. Thank you for sponsoring the channel.
Yeah.
It's amazing for us, man. All right, so let's just jump right into this thing. Dune 2, Part 2 of Part 1. I'm sure plenty of people here know my feelings of Part 1. And, you know, I wasn't a fan. I was super excited by it. And when it came out, I was frankly just a little bored. And the reviews for Part 2 are just absolutely stellar. Everyone's saying this is what we needed. This was how we finish it up. And of course, I once again walked into that theater with extremely high expectations. So let me just start this off. First off, unlike my brother, I am not a Dune expert. I couldn't even get through like the audiobook, okay? And I vaguely remember reading it when I was a teen. Shane, however, is an extreme Dune expert. He knows everything about it. And before you leave, because I know all of you Dune heads out there are like, I'm not going to listen to anyone that's not a Dune expert. When I heard they were remaking Dune, I was stoked. I mean, like, over the moon excited. Because Dune is a sci-fi fantasy epic. I love sci-fi. I love every incarnation of sci-fi. It's literally our bread and butter. We built our main channel on science fiction. From Star Trek to Stargate, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Back to the Future, Sliders, X-File, whatever, Starship Troopers, whatever, you name it. If it's sci-fi, I'm interested. When I was young, I read every single Asimov book, every Niven book, Pike, Garfield, blah, blah, blah. I read it. I even read Shatner. I loved William Shatner books because it scratched the itch. And he's not the best writer, but it didn't matter to me. I loved sci-fi. I remember starting up Part 1. I watched it on HBO Max. It was during the pandemic. And I was immediately sucked into the world right away. Sandworms, Hans Zimmer, chanting, everything. I was legitimately ready for Denis Villeneuve. I can't say his word. Villeneuve. Jesus.
Yeah, it's Villeneuve, I think. Is that it?
Villeneuve, thank you. Denis Villeneuve to blow me away. I wanted to marvel at the latest, greatest sci-fi fantasy epic. And then it just dragged on and on and on. The more I watched the movie, the more I just got annoyed. And maybe it's because I didn't watch it in theaters. Maybe it would have been better. Clearly, this movie is made for theaters. Denis loves to linger on every shot, dude. He wants to show the money that was spent to make this art. And it is art. But watching at home, it just felt boring and the characters weren't interesting. But I thought, you know what? It's Part 1. Part 2 is going to come out. It's going to finish the story. I'm sure I'm going to feel a connection to these characters, right? The reviews came in. Everyone said it was a masterpiece. Literally, a game changer. It's like Lord of the Rings. And I was excited. Once again. So take 2, right? I'm like, I'm going to the theater to watch this thing. I get the very first showing. Literally yesterday. The very first showing. To be fair, the theater was packed. And I sat down and I got ready for the sci-fi fantasy epic that Denis Villeneuve, I can't say his last name, Denis was going to deliver to us. I sat there. I literally was like, give me the spice. Shoot it in my veins. Let's go. 3 hours later, it ended. 3 hours. 3 freaking hours. And I have thoughts about this. First off, I'm still attempting to understand this massive movie. I should like it. I should love it. But I feel nothing. I literally feel nothing about this movie. The direction was great. The visuals were great, were amazing. The CGI was outstanding. VFX were amazing. Cinematography, soundtrack, the performances, all good. It's a good movie. But I just don't care. I literally feel nothing. And the more I thought about it yesterday and this morning, the more annoyed I got. I just kept getting more and more annoyed because I don't feel the same way as I know most of my bros here on YouTube do. And I know for a fact that come this Saturday, I'm going to catch flack for not loving this movie. I guarantee it. Tom and all the SMP guys are going to be like, what's wrong with you? You just like bad movies. I get it. So I'm trying to figure out why I don't like it. Because it's a good movie. I'm like, what's missing, right? And I'm like, what am I missing? Am I missing something? Is the movie missing something? But I figured it out. I think I figured it out. I didn't connect to the characters at all. And, you know, when you watch Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Back to the Future, Star Trek, whatever, you fall in love with the characters, their individuality, their teamwork. Even the bad guys have little ticks and things about them that make them interesting and charming in a way. This is what's missing for me in Dune. The characters are clinical and the world is sterile. It's beautiful. It's well done. Mm-hmm. It's literal artwork. But I don't feel any warmth or soul from these characters, like at all. And I'm like, should I care for them? Am I the problem? Am I dead inside? Am I a sociopath? Because I don't feel anything for these characters. So I called Shane last night. I'm like, Shane, I told everyone I'm doing this review. I don't like the movie. I know it's a good movie. It deserves the rating I gave it on Critic List. I gave it a 75%. Right. It deserves that. It's a good movie. Why don't I like this movie? Now, Shane, he's an expert on Dune. An expert. He knows everything about it. Everything. He's read every single book. He's watched every miniseries, every movie. He's seen everything. He even read like the history, not the history, the biography of the guy who wrote the book. Knows everything. So I'm talking to Shane, and he came up with this awesome conclusion. He's like, I think the reason you don't feel any warmth or soul from these characters is because there's not enough dialogue. There's not enough dialogue, and the characters are moving from scene to scene. It is clinical in a way. It does get you from point A to point B, but doesn't really give you, and it's weird, it doesn't give you the time to fall in love with these characters, even though it lingers on shots, relentlessly lingering on shots.
It does. There's a lot of just standing and staring into space. Just standing on a dune.
It's crazy.
Looking. They don't want you to forget that you're watching Dune. It's just like, here's a person on a dune. Yeah. They're looking at, guess what? More dunes. They're looking at more dunes.
Yeah, more dunes. And I understand, but I need to feel something for the characters. And maybe people can just watch this and be like, it's artwork. It's masterpiece. It's beautiful. But I also need to feel something for the characters. I'd rather you have worse graphics, but more chemistry than what we got. But I understand I'm probably in the minority. Like I said, I'm going to get relentless ribbing from my buddy Tom from Midnight's Edge on this Saturday. I'm ready for it. I'm gearing up for it. I'm literally like bracing for the relentless, non-stop, constant complaining about it. But that's it. So that's why when I put this thumbnail on, I said, you know what? It was okay.
I mean, you feel free to throw me under the bus with you because I am not far off from you. Okay. And we're starting up Critical's Cast. We recorded our first episode last night, and night before last. But anyways, I gave it a higher score. I haven't reviewed it on Critical's yet, but I felt very similar, and I actually had trouble like quantifying and really honing in on what it was. I was just playing the whole like Anakin Skywalker thing, and I was just like, it must be the sand. It's the sand. I clearly just ate sand.
It was the sand.
There's far too much of it. And but I feel fairly similar, and it is very sterile and clinical. I mean, I think it is a masterpiece. I think it is gorgeous. It is very well executed, all of the things that you said, but it does have its shortcomings. And I don't even know, I think to some degree whether, and this is another thing, talk about catching flack, I think some of it is the world. Like, right. I just don't care about this world.
Yeah, it feels so sterile, right? Like,
It is. It's just there's not a lot there. It's just a lot of sand. The worms are cool. I mean, and it's just I don't know. Even the moving pieces and parts, it just doesn't do a lot for me. And I said the other night, I'm like, maybe if we hit part 3, and they move into outer space and we get some new locations and something else, maybe it will strike more of a chord for me.
Right.
But I just don't know that I care about this world at all.
Okay, so I'm stoked we're on the same page here because I was thoroughly prepared for you to debunk everything I just said. No, I mean, look, and I sort of hate to criticize it. Like, I normally have no problem criticizing movies. You know that. I love doing it. I love just like, totally demolishing something that someone put a ton of effort and time into making. But I don't want to actually criticize this because I feel like it is a work of art.
Right.
It just doesn't connect with me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's it's not really, is that a criticism of Denis or is that a criticism of like where science fiction is right now? Because apparently all science fiction has to have this like really just sort of dystopian, sterile, long, drawn out, lingering shots of hallways and sand dunes. And I come from a different time. Maybe that's the new thing. Maybe the new thing is like, let's just show a guy walking down a hallway for 5 minutes, another guy on a sand dune for 7 minutes, or looking out into space. Let's just show these like long. Let's make sure the audience is fully aware. Let's take the concept of an establishing shot and let's expand it into an entire series of shots. I don't know, man.
Yeah, and I think too, it didn't really need to be these two like borderline 3-hour movies. Like it's just there's not enough meat on these bones to fill out both of these movies.
Well, and because they also left a bunch of stuff out of the books.
Right.
Like with so what they have, you can totally cut this movie down into like one long movie.
Yeah, and I think I would have preferred that in the long run because the cliffhanger of the first movie was absurd, and it just cut. Well, I don't want to get into spoilers or anything, but it is. I'm in very much the same boat, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I'm glad you put it to words a little better than I did, and it's so sterile. It's almost kind of like to some degree at points like looking at brutalist architecture, where you're like, you look at it, like it can be stunning and huge and like this extravagant thing, but sometimes you're just like, but like it's lacking the character here, and I think that's some of what's. Yeah, and it's what's going on in this movie, and I mean, also, just the characters themselves. If it was not for Javier Bardem and for Josh Brolin, this movie would have been lacking any actual like heart or soul. I think if it wasn't for the two of them,
and we didn't spend enough time with them, so
no.
All right, so we don't want to get into spoilers, and that's going that way. We're going to wrap up this. Look, bottom line is, it's totally worth. If you haven't seen the movie, it's totally worth a ticket price. Yeah. It is stunning.
And seen in theaters, IMAX.
But here's the deal: see it in the biggest, most fantastic theater you can afford or get to, because it's worth it. It's a visual spectacle. It's beautiful. But I won't be watching it again when it comes out in streaming. I don't see a point.
Right.
But
yeah.
Maybe you guys like it more. And you know what? When you do see it next week, come back and tell me all about it, please.
Right.
All right. Interesting things here. We got a couple of comments that I want to highlight. First off, oh my God, I lost it. Yeah, Denis, where'd it go? Oh, from Wolverine 626, the director did state that he hates dialogue.
Yeah, he did.
You know what?
It shows.
That is very evident.
Yeah.
From Justin Baker, the director literally said in an interview 2 days ago, if he could have made it a silent movie, he could have. Jesus, come on, or he would have.
Yeah, it's too much into art house territory at this point. Like,
yeah. Archmage Frey did say something. Brian prefers muscly sand dudes. That's correct. That's correct.
Right.
Make Paul Atreides have Jason Momoa play him, and I'll probably be a lot more connected to him. All right, so let's move on to that topic. I like that we wrapped this one up pretty quick because I was worried that we were going to spend like an hour and a half talking about
duking it out.
Yeah, duking it out basically. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. It's no fun. That's how we feel, guys. That's how we feel. So you know what? Yeah, if you're watching this clip later on, hit the comment section and let us know what you thought. Okay. All right, let's talk about Matthew Vaughn. This is very interesting. Okay, so first off, Argyle came out a couple weeks ago. I actually ended up liking the movie. At first, the first time I watched it, I wasn't a fan. I was like, eh. And then I saw it a second time because my wife wanted to watch it. So the first time I watch something, I usually watch it for the show, right? And, I don't take my wife to every single thing we watch because she's just not into movies the same way I am. But then she saw a preview, and I think it was like Henry Cavill with his shirt off or something. And she's like, you know what? Let's go watch that movie. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad. It just sort of was. And, I think what it was, I expected so much different from Matthew Vaughn, the guy who made, Kingsman and Kick-Ass and all that, this really cool stuff. And so I went to go watch it with her, and watching a second time and from her perspective, I actually enjoyed it. My criticism is still...
It's a chick flick at its core.
It is.
And which they didn't market it that way either.
No, they didn't. They didn't market it. They marketed it as a typical Matthew Vaughn movie. But you know what? It makes complete sense that he would go, he makes, the big dude movies. He makes the chick movies. And now he's going to make like a movie for younger people, I'm assuming. Here's the deal. I watched it and I was like, you know what? I still have the same criticisms of the main character. I don't buy that she was ever a spy. I believe it would have worked had they, and no offense to her, she is a stunning, gorgeous, beautiful woman. I would be blessed. It would be like, to be able to be with this person. So I'm not complaining about her weight in that sense, but when it comes to being a super spy, you got to be a little more fit. And in no way am I criticizing her weight. I think she's gorgeous. I really do. I think she's gorgeous. But is she a super spy? I don't know.
Yeah, I played into the humor of all of that, which I say that she has the ass that could launch 1,000 ships. So I mean, it's after Jurassic World, but I kind of joked about that in my entire Criticalist review because it was a trip like watching her in this role, which in almost the movie as a whole is so tongue in cheek that there's almost a point in which it's kind of like the movie is also saying like, do you buy this? Like, we don't even know if we buy this.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's like that criticism feels almost disingenuous because you're like, I don't know if they meant to do that or not. Right. And Bryce Howard, she did a fine job in the movie. Like, she did a good job. It's just she doesn't look the part. And my criticism of Cavill not being in the movie enough, that was pretty fair criticism. And then I watched it a second time. I'm like, you know what? He was in the movie enough, considering the movie was not about him. I mean, they sold it that way, but the movie was about this person, and she kept saying it worked. I actually like the movie now. I actually really dug it. It's funny. It's very rare that a second watch makes me appreciate a film, but I did. And the end credit of that movie, spoiler alert, if you're going to watch it, sorry, ahead of time. If you're going to watch it, skip ahead like 18 seconds. Ready? At the end of that movie, Henry Cavill is actually there in the flesh, and he's playing a character. He goes to the press conference at the very end, and Ellie is stunned by him, and then it shows a flashback to when that character, whatever, joined the Kingsmen, and it literally ties the two franchises together. That means the Kingsmen and Argyle exist in the same world, and the character that she's been writing about this entire time is a Kingsman. That's wild.
Yeah.
Or that was actually a little fuzzy too, because like I thought she was writing about herself, but then like, he was there, and you're like, whatever. Who cares? I'm gonna suspend my my logic issues right now and just be like, you know what? That's cool. The Kingsman movies are fantastic. I love those movies. I absolutely adore every Kingsman movie. I shouldn't do this, but I watch it with my kids, and they're like, it's not appropriate for children. But I have one kid who's 12. They're both 12. They're twins. One of my kids is definitely a lot, she's more mature. She's older, not chronologically, but like the way she acts, right? And she loves Fast and the Furious and Star Trek and all the stuff. She's basically me, but a 12-year-old girl. And really into Harry Potter. I was never into Harry Potter, but she's like really into it. The same way I was into Star Wars, she's into Harry Potter, right? And it's really great to see. So after we finished Fast and Furious, I'm like, you know what? I had forgotten how gnarly Kingsman was. I'm like, let's watch Kingsman. You'll probably love it.
And then there's the scene with the anal stuff.
I know. Every single time that scene comes up, I like my hands on the mute button, boop, 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 boop. And I'm just like, doo, 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 doo. You know, the TiVo sound. Doo, 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 doo. So the way I watched it with her was I basically having a very keen knowledge of the movie. Because the first time I turned it on, the second we started getting gnarly stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot. Great. We're going to back this up, babe. We'll watch this tomorrow. This is how good of a father I am. And I'm tooting my own horn here. I ended up going to watch the movie that night. I took notes out of every scene that was too advanced, and I had it in my phone. And the next night when we went to watch the movie, every time a scene would come up, I'd be like, I would tap that 2-second button, and I would just tap it ahead so she can avoid all the crazy stuff. But she likes the movie. Awesome. So when we saw Argyle together, which is much more family friendly, by the way, than Kingsman.
Yeah. She
saw the Kingsman connection, and she was like, yeah! She's the only one in the theater, and she's like, yeah! Right, Dad? Yeah! And I'm like...
She gets it.
Yeah, she gets it. So now, Matthew Vaughn came out with an announcement that he's doing... Remember, he did Kick-Ass, right? I know this is a long intro to the story. I apologize, everyone. Matthew Vaughn, the guy who did Kingsman, the guy who did Argyle, also did the movie Kick-Ass, and he's creating a new movie, a spin-off or so, or a film, and the next film in the Kick-Ass universe called The Stuntman. Here's what it says. Matthew Vaughn is already deep in production for his next feature film, a caper titled The Stuntman. By the way, this guy just got off a movie and is already writing the movie. Matthew Vaughn is a really awesome creator. Pretty much everything he's made, I'm a fan of. So, you know what? As much work as they want to give him, please. And you know what? If the guy is creating an actual Matthew Vaughn universe out of totally, completely fresh IP that only he ever made, that's amazing. That's like, That's everything we've ever wanted. Instead of revisiting old crap, you are creating your own universe. In real time, we're watching this unfold. That's awesome. Anyways, what he said was, helmed by stunt performer turned director Damon Walters, the film tells the story of two brothers who became stuntmen. The feature is currently in production, comes from Vaughn's Marv Studio banners, along with Walters Zibble Productions. Last October, they shot in Hampshire, where a local newspaper reported a 1970s-style fun fair had been installed in the Village Park, complete with Helter Skelter and Ferris wheels. Super rad. Okay, I'm going to stop reading this because it's not fun to listen to someone read. However, I got one more thing to read out here. The trilogy will be School Fight. This movie, let's call it VRAM for the time being, and then Kick-Ass, and then they're all connected. And this is what is cool about this, man. There's another article from 2 weeks ago we talked about, when we were talking about Argyle, where he literally said he's going to introduce one more franchise. And then his plan after introducing the third franchise is to tie them together into one giant universe. And that's then awesome. We get this news? So how about this? The Kick-Ass universe, the Argyle universe, and the Kingsman universe all as one? I'm sorry, but that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, he's the shit.
And you know what this movie's going to do? It's probably going to set up that connection. It's going to set up the connection. And you know what's even better about this? Is the guy who played... Okay, so this movie is taking place in like the 70s probably, right? So it's going to set up the connection of the Kingsman. Well, Aaron Tyler Johnson, if you recall, the guy who played Kick-Ass, he's a
beast now.
He's a beast now. He was so young before, but now he's literally a superhero. He's a good actor. He's fun to watch. If you've ever seen Bullet Train, he was awesome in that movie.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. He deserves a shot at a Kingsman type movie, and I think we're gonna get it. I think that legitimately this movie's gonna come out. People are whether they have the same opinion of this that they had with Kingsman or Argyle, it doesn't really matter. It just has to connect, and then this guy is gonna create that Endgame style movie with all these characters. And I don't know. Everyone complains about crossover. Too many crossovers, too many universes. Look, if you are in real time creating a brand new franchise universe, no characters from the past, no mining IP from our childhood, no member berries to talk of. In real time, this guy is creating his own universe. That is to be applauded, man. That is awesome.
Oh, yeah. There's very few people working right now that have the stones to do what he's doing. No. And he's just one after another, man. And it's like, which back when he did Stardust, I don't know if you remember that, but that was when I saw that, I was like, this is my dude. Like, I will watch everything he does. And if you haven't shown that to your daughters, you definitely should. My kids absolutely love it.
Kick-Ass?
No, Stardust. Like, I will watch.
I'm sorry, Stardust?
Yes, Stardust.
You blanked out there for a second. Oh, he did Stardust?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I didn't know that.
He did Stardust.
Really?
Yep, he did that.
That has who's in it?
Michelle Pfeiffer and Claire Danes, Charlie Cox. Before it actually even had Henry Cavill in it.
No,
when he was a nobody,
like the skinny Henry Cavill.
Yes, yeah.
It's funny. I'm not seeing that I'm not seeing that on his IMDb.
Yeah, that was the
I'm
first.
Seeing it.
That was the first Matthew.
Okay,
Vaughn
that's
film I saw.
I remember this movie. Yeah, and it has Henry Cavill is in it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's cool. You should go back and watch it. I highly recommend it after hyping him up. We watched it very recently with my kids, and they were like all on board for it.
That's awesome. There's like a really famous person in it too. I'm always forgetting his name. Anyways, yeah. I'm gonna check that out. Yeah. In fact, I'm just gonna leave that link up right there so I don't forget it. That's
right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's De Niro and
De Niro. That's right. De Niro's in it. Yeah.
And Ricky Gervais too. Like, it's stacked.
No joke. That's awesome. Okay, very cool. All right, well, tell us what you guys think about this the Matthew Vaughn verse. I'm not sure what you're going to call it, the Vaughn verse. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Whatever you want to call it. Consider, let us know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Okay, man. Let's get to the next story. I'm going to see what's going on with the chat because someone said they couldn't gift a membership or something. What's going on with Criticus? I saw you guys added the YouTube stuff.
We did, yeah. It's going great. Yeah, people are loving that thing. It got weird real fast, which I should have expected. And so, I've leaned into it obviously because my whole thought was, content creators, people posting when they've reviewed stuff, on their YouTube channels. Mm-hmm. But it instantly turned into people basically using it as like a pseudo MySpace where they're pairing songs with their reviews.
Oh my God.
If a movie is trash, it's like, videos of horses farting or, it's gone off the rails and I love it. And it's been fun.
Yeah. Why not? That's cool.
Right.
I remember talking to you on one of the SMP shows where I'm like, you know what? We got to add video to this thing, man. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, just make it so we can link the YouTube videos. No, it's great. Like the second I saw that, I'm like, all right, get that Madam Web video up there right away. Yeah, I love that you're constantly evolving it, man. It's a very cool thing. All right, let's talk about Superman. This might be a combo story. Superman, the suit, and the Justice League thing, because it's super rad. So, looks like we got a leak of David Cornsweet in the super suit. And I think I like it. It's super unique. I mean, obviously, remember this, okay? Look at this suit. Remember in a movie, in a movie though, you have like coloring and like there's overlays. This is just a straight up picture of the colorful suit. I don't know if it's going to be this colorful in the movie because then they do like tone mapping and stuff in movies. But it is pretty OG. He has the underoos. He's got the whole thing, and it has the Kingdom Come S, but it's not the Kingdom Come S with the black background. This is like classic Superman. They're just using the Kingdom Come S, which is super rad. It still could be an origin for Kingdom Come. It could be his origin, and he changes the logo as he gets older or something. But I don't know. What do you think about this?
I like it. Like, and this is the first I'm seeing of it because you messaged me a little bit ago and you're like, oh, the news dropped. And so I hadn't even had a chance to look at it. And I mean, he's got the look, man. And that is just like, it doesn't look like a pumped up suit. It's not like he looks jacked in that thing. And it looks like the original.
Yeah.
And I'm vibing with it. Like, and like you said, it's so vibrant and bright, and where it's like, I remember back when Shazam came out and the images leaked of him in the suit, and it was clearly they had like given him extra muscles and all this stuff, and it looked absurd. And I was like, oh, this movie's going to be like the worst thing ever. And
Someone's saying,
really
I'm sorry to cut you off, bro, but Wolverine's saying the image is fake.
Oh, really?
No, it's not fake. It's not fake.
Yeah, I don't.
No, it's not fake.
It'd be wild if it was.
No, yeah, this comes from Tom Midnight's Edge. He doesn't post fake news.
Do fake, right?
Yeah, that's not his style. I'm very sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
It is actually the S that he teased. It's the same S that was on the placards in their table read, except for the placards at different color S's depending on the character. We never saw Corn and Sweat's placard, but I'm assuming it probably had this color scheme, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, bro.
You're good. No. Yeah, you're good. I saw a thing the other day. Supposedly, James Gunn teased the S like almost a year ago or something, and none of us noticed. Did a random post.
We all noticed.
Right.
At least,
right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I noticed because I made a video about it a year ago when he first took over the franchise, and he posted this comic book, the Kingdom Come comic book, with, if you notice, that exact same S. And then he had a picture of a guy, some like stuntman in that same suit. Everyone thought I was crazy. Like, they're not going to do Kingdom Come. Well, what if they're doing Kingdom Come, but it's not the Kingdom Come book? What if it's the origin of Kingdom Come? What if it's Kingdom... Look, in the original comic book, we never actually saw his origin. We just assume his origin is the same as other Superman's origins. What if we're going to see his origin? And who knows? If it's super successful, maybe in 15 years, we actually get to a Henry Cavill Kingdom Come version of this. I mean, it could happen, right? Corn Sweat and Henry Cavill look very much alike, dude.
Yeah, I would be on board for that. I'm so curious because there's, we get versions of James Gunn, right? There's the more controlled James Gunn, and then there's the James Gunn who used to work on trauma films and was like making movies for like goth edgelords, so it's I'm curious with him having Superman, like he can't go full gun, he can't do what he did with Suicide Squad,
right?
So I'm super curious, but everything he's been sharing, like everything he's been sharing so far, makes it really feel like, I mean, he's an old school nerd. So I'm hoping that he goes that route and gives us what we deserve out of Superman films.
Yeah, no, you are 100% spot on. We had a very similar conversation last week. And I was like, James Gunn is the master of taking that like tier G, tier 3, tier 4 character and make him just the hero, right? The polka dot man, the condiment man, the rat guy. Even Nathan Fillion's like limbless, whatever guy. I forgot the name of the character. He's a Peacemaker. Characters that you like. Not most people don't really. There's no fan base for them. They're just part of other people's stories. And maybe they're a little ridiculous, but he gives them a character. He gives them a backstory. He gives them a voice, and he makes them awesome. But this is not Polka Dot Man.
Yeah,
this is top tier, grade A, the original as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure there's others, but the one. This is Superman. This is the same guy that on every nerd conversation I ever had about every single character was, but can they beat Superman? Whether it was Goku, a Marvel character, Darth Vader, whatever. This character matched up with Superman. This is the original. This is the OG. This is the top of the superhero mountain here. This is not Rocket Raccoon. So can he do the same thing with a character that is so widely known and so vastly loved by so many people? That's the question. And I'm here for it regardless because James Gunn has never let me down. Never. Not once.
Right.
In fact, one of my favorite movies of all time is a movie I cannot wait to share with my kid, but she's got to be at least 16.
I know what you're gonna say.
You know what I'm gonna say? Slither.
Slither. Yep. Freaking love it. It's the shit. It's so good.
I gotta do a Criticus review. It is one of those movies that you think you're just going into a horror movie. Next thing you know, it's horror, it's comedy, it's science fiction, it's an epic fantasy, and you're like, what is happening right now? How did we go from like this little town getting, horror movie into a whole space epic? It's crazy. James Gunn really manages. He always brings the heat, dude. Like every single time. At the very, very least, I'm entertained by the guy every time. So I can't wait, man. And I love that he's going sort of full boat with the with a lot of the characters. Like Hawkgirl's in already. Green Lantern. Yeah. The casting looks great. Someone was complaining. By the way, guys, we got to pick our battles, okay?
Right.
Someone was complaining about the race swapping of Otis. Stop. It's not even a secondary character. It's like a third character at best. He's like one step above an extra. Calm down.
Right.
Calm down.
I mean, look at our Lois casting. Look at our Jimmy casting. Like, I mean, and our Soups casting. Like, I mean, even just those top three. Like, they all
Metamorpho, Green Lantern. Right. They're all perfect. Right. Yeah. So you're gonna complain about the one person removed extra character that follows Lex Luthor around? Calm down, guys. I'm all about complaining. You guys know me. I love complaining. It's like my number one thing to do. My wife hates it. 21 years of marriage, and she's like, "Why do you always have to complain so much?" I'm like, "Because this is how I get it out. If I don't complain, then I'm just gonna sit here and just fester until my head explodes, and you're gonna be a widow. So I have to complain, and I love complaining." But when I saw that Bounding in the Comics thing, where they're like, another race swap, I'm like, calm down. Like, don't look for news that hard, bro. It's not a big deal. Like, it's not worth the anger. And that's coming from me. Come on. All right. So one more look at this costume. I'm pretty sure it's real. I don't think that Tom would post fake stuff. He doesn't do that.
Yeah.
But one more thing on this story. And I found this interesting. Apparently, and this is more interesting than most people think, because everyone just sees this as a headline, but I don't. The second I saw the actual filming location, I was like, "Oh my god, that's 100% it."
Yeah.
Superman Legacy could already be setting up the Justice League. I'm not joking. Or I guess Justice Friends, or Justice League of America, or the JLA, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it would be called in that universe, but let's just say the Justice League, okay? And the way we know is that, according to the Ohio Department of Development via comicbook.com, Superman Legacy is set to film scenes in Cleveland and Cincinnati, which are two very important Superman-related locations in DC Comics. DC Comics Superman was created by writer Jerry Siegel and artist Joe Shuster. I'm saying these names wrong. Both of whom grew up in Cleveland. With the city being a place where they first envisioned the idea of the Man of Steel, it's possible the Cleveland skyline will be used for the DC Universe metropolis. But more important is the Hall of Justice. Because the Hall of Justice is actually based on... I'm sorry, wrong one. That's the wrong one. It's based on this. The Cincinnati Union Terminal. They're shooting in Cincinnati, and the Hall of Justice that introduced the Justice League is based on this real building. What are the odds?
Yeah,
Blaine?
It's so close. The second that you shared the image with me yesterday, I scrolled down, I saw it, and I was just like, no freaking way. And I didn't even like see what they were saying about it yet. And I saw that image, and I was like, dude, that's the freaking Hall of Justice.
That's the Hall of Justice. 100%. That is the Hall of Justice. So we have Superman Legacy with every character you can actually, all the characters you need to form aside from Batman, to form the Hall of Justice. The Justice League. Right. And one of the actual shooting locations that is registered for the movie is Cincinnati. And I would bet my rent that one of those locations will be the Union Terminal. And because why else would you be shooting in Cincinnati for the real? Come on, who's shooting in Cincinnati unless you're using something specific from Cincinnati?
Well, and they've said that this isn't like a origin story for this Superman. So it would make sense that he is in some degree connected to, like you said, the Justice Society of America or something. And even if it's just a tease of him being connected to it, or it's very possible.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm here for it. I don't want the movie to be so big. And here's an actual good point. If the movie is too big, if there are, too many characters, too many introductions, too many connections, a movie can only be so long. It's not a miniseries. It's not a TV show. You don't have 9 hours to introduce every character correctly and every concept and every connection correctly. So they need to be careful. They want to tease the Hall of Justice. Great. Cool. Right. You want to have him be friends with Hawkgirl and Green Lantern, that's fine. But the movie needs to be about Superman. It needs to be a Superman movie. You can introduce these characters in these places and then fill them out in other movies down the road after you've made a successful Superman legacy movie about Superman. Not about Lois Lane, not about Guy Gardner or, Metamorpho, or pick your name here. These need to be supporting characters, connections, and teases at best. The story still needs to be about Superman. The villain still needs to be Lex Luthor. Facts. That very first introduction needs to be your villain, and that needs to be your superhero. And those two characters need to be your main focus. It cannot be all the tangentially connected characters that you are throwing in the movie. So I hope that's not so big that we've forgotten that.
Right. And I don't think Gunn will. I mean, like we said, he's never let us down. And I just don't. He's already seen DC do that exact thing. Try to cram 100 people into one movie and it not work, and trying to rush the Justice League and all of that. So I just don't see him, screwing that up, because he's already watched the DC universe screwed up one time. So yeah, it would be a shock if he did. Yeah,
you're 100% right. The thing about what bums me out about the original DCU is that, or the previous DCU, whatever you want to call it,
right?
Is that it didn't have to be screwed up. Like the studio went out of their way to ruin characters in movies. Not just the studio. Like there's very specific people, and I've complained about them in detail. I'm not gonna go back into it, but these people went out of their way to ruin Snyder's vision and to push their own characters from their own comics into the movies so they can profit more. I'm looking at you, bud. And here's the deal. What wrecked the DCU wasn't Snyder. Snyder had a vision. His vision was working. It's evident by the massive amount of fans that are out there for that universe. But the movies that were flops because of mostly studio interference. And I'll take that to the grave. I believe that for a fact.
Yeah, but I do too.
We're not going to get this time because now it's James Gunn. James Gunn is the studio head, so he's making the movie, and he's literally the studio. There's no one to interfere with them. There's no one to blame but you, James. If this does not work, bro, you're the only person to blame for this. There's no studio to fall back on. It's literally you and your best friend running the studio, and you're making the movie.
Yeah,
you're the writer, the director, the producer, the studio. I mean, talk about a dream come true. Like, imagine if you're a Superman fan, and all of a sudden you're like, not only am I head of the studio, but I get to make Superman. And there is no governor on James Gunn. There's no one to stop him or slow him down or say you can't do that. This is going to be James Gunn maximum. Which goes back to the same thing. I really hope we don't get a Pokemon, like Pokemon, Pokidot Man kind of thing. Like, make sure someone needs to be your governor a little bit. Like,
we don't need like exploding heads and people getting ripped to pieces and the trauma gore factory. We can just, as long as he removes that part of James Gunn from the equation, I think we will freaking kill it.
All right, so someone in the chat actually just made a very good point. Wolverine 626 just said Superman Legacy is now just called Superman per James Gunn, rolling face eyes. And I looked it up, my dude, you are not wrong. Drop the legacy. This literally came out an hour ago. James Gunn revealed that his new Superman movie will simply be called Superman. Writing a post celebrating in the first day of filming. When I finished the first draft of the script, I called the film Superman Legacy. By the time I locked in the final draft, it was clear the title was just Superman. Okay.
All right. I mean, I guess, sure. I mean, we've already got several movies called just Superman, but I mean, you know, how many movies do we have called Batman, I guess? I don't or whatever, you know. I don't necessarily have a lot of beef with it. It is interesting that just dropped. Clearly, everything is just pouring out right now.
Yeah, today is a weird day. Like, I had 18 news articles lined up, and I had to scrap half of them. This was the post that he linked to that announcement. He said, overjoyed to be announcing the start of principal photography on Superman today, February 29th, which just so happens to be, and coincidentally unplanned, Superman's birthday. Right.
Yeah.
There's no motherfucking way that's just a coincidence. It just happened to be his birthday, which also happens to be leap year. Stop it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Get out of here.
You know what, bro? You do you. But, and then listen. Don't say it coincident. Say you planned it. Be like, I'm such a Superman fan, I effing planned this. And I'm the studio head. I could do whatever the hell I want. So I made sure we started the first day of shooting on Superman's goddamn birthday. Like, own that thing, dude. There's no way that you just happen to start on the one day that happens every 4 years. Like, the odds of that are astronomical.
Yeah. So do you think that picture is a Fortress of Solitude tease? Is that what we're getting there with all that snow?
It's got to be. It's got to be. Look, James Gunn doesn't play around. Everything is a tease, right? There's a reason why this modified Kingdom Come logo is covered in snow. Because he's in the snow. Right? Which is where the only place we can think of is the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Right. So, by the way, awesome. But just own the whole starting on his birthday thing. There's no way it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't buy that for a second. It's still, you know what? It's even more impressive that James Gunn, he literally has control of every single aspect of this. Like, bro, it's either going to be amazing or not,
awful,
or awful.
Yeah,
there's no in between, and I'm here for it. I'm super stoked to see it happen. Anyways, let us know what you guys think in the chat and in the comment section. What do you think is going to happen with I guess it's now just called Superman? Interesting stuff. That was a good Superman segment. Damn, that lasted a long time. All right, one more comic book story, then we get into some more adult, I guess, it's not adult, adult topics. More like, I guess, boring topics, but it's a little more superhero. Then we go the more political stuff. All right. Let's talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. Copyright filing confirms Emma Corrin's villainous role returned to live-action Marvel heroine. This is interesting. It's extremely interesting because people were saying that she was going to play Cassandra Nova. And if you don't know who that is, you want to explain it?
I could, but it's kind of convoluted in itself. But essentially, isn't it that it is Professor X's twin sister that died in the womb? Correct.
Right. They thought she died in the womb, but she used her psychic powers to not die, so her soul is somehow.
Right.
It's actually super convoluted. That's why I wanted you to explain
it. Really is. Yeah. No, it's a mess. Even after doubling back twice, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And I mean, I was already confused just because of the last name with Nova in there, and I'm like, how are we not getting a Nova in Marvel as the actual character Nova, and now we're getting a character with the last name Nova, and just all of that is confusing. So
yeah. So basically, Cassandra Nova is Professor X's. Xavier's twin sister that they thought had died, but with a bunch of crazy, wonky comic book logic. She didn't die, and now she's a bad guy, and she's really mad at Professor X, and blah, blah, blah. This is apparently a shot of her, and, you know, I think it's interesting that they have her also in a chair, same as the shot they had. If you remember that shot from Multiverse of Madness, the Doctor Strange movie, they had the over-the-shoulder shot of Professor X, same exact shot. And the internet went crazy thinking, oh, is Professor X in it? Well, now we know. Emma Corrin is playing Cassandra Nova. And I think this is a little bit of a well, I guess the term is red herring. I don't think that Cassandra Nova is actually the main villain.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a huge leap here. Ready? I got to go full screen for this because this is... Here we go. Mark my words. Cassandra Nova, side character. I would even say maybe a multiverse version of Professor X or something like that. Right? Yeah. Not important. This is all just like fairy dust. This is like distraction. Because the real villain of this is going to be Dr. Doom.
Oh. Oh. All right.
Consider this. What is the main villain of the Fantastic Four? Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom. Yeah.
The day after we got the big, like, this is the name of the movie, here's the trailer coming out, was the Fantastic Four poster release. I don't know if that's coincidence or intentional or what, but wouldn't it be perfect to set up the next big villain after you lost Kang, you lost that whole idea of what you're going to do for phase 6 or whatever it was, and you gave the audience what they wanted. And the audience has been wanting Dr. Doom for an insane amount of time. It would be the perfect setup. You know, maybe even Deadpool is the reason why the Fantastic Four were sent back in time to the 60s or 70s or whatever they're in. Because in the poster, Rock guy, I'm forgetting his name, Ben, is wearing an astronaut, a NASA suit from like the late 90s, but they're clearly in like the 50s or 60s, right? Or 60s. Yeah. So we have, what if Deadpool is the reason why they're lost in time? And what if his releasing of Doom from that weird planet, void planet or whatever, is what starts this whole thing off? What if they're literally using like the Marvel, like Deadpool kills the Marvel universe, where he like literally knocks out a bunch of these alternate universes and sets this new phase afoot? Wouldn't it be perfect if the guy who's seemingly his superpower is breaking the fourth wall is able to actually right the ship? It's exciting because it's possible. Yeah. They have a unique opportunity. I don't think they might not do it, but it's possible.
It would actually even kind of make them pushing everything so far back make more sense. Because if they're needing to rewrite everything because of what a mess everyone knows it is, and right now that linchpin is Deadpool. It's the only movie we've got coming out from Marvel this year. And they're using that to, like you said, right the ship and just get us trucking back in the right direction. And I mean, I freaking hope, dear God, I hope that's what happens, because we went from, you know, a universe that we never would have, our childhood versions would have never dreamed would ever happen with what they did with the MCU. And then we've watched it burn over several years.
Yeah. No one asked for the Marvels, the Eternals. Right. No one asked for these characters.
No.
Look, I mean, all due respect to Miss Marvel, I think the actress is actually pretty cool. I think she did a good job. And she feels like a fan that like got this awesome opportunity, but it's not her fault. They gave her a character that no one likes. Not her fault.
Right.
But no one bought her comic. No one bought Miss Marvel comic books. Why introduce the character? I'll tell you why. Just because of DEI. That's the only reason. They only introduced that character for DEI reasons. And like, if you keep trying to force DEI into every story, you're gonna lose your fans, because you cannot your only options are use characters no one liked because they were all like these weird, trans versions of characters they did like, or race swap, which is like, or gender swap, whatever, which is an even worse sin. So maybe just focus on telling a story. And there are characters that already match your DEI that people already like that you can use. How about this? Oh my God, this drives me nuts. Why do we need Ironheart when we have Don Cheadle's War Machine? You have a black guy that everyone likes. You don't need to introduce another guy. If you're going for DEI here, you don't need to. You already have it. Don't introduce a new character.
Look at the original X-Men. Look at the X-Men. They're bringing in the X-Men. The X-Men are full of so many badass women. That cast and roster is so stacked, and you want to talk about diverse. All you got to do is bring in the motherfucking X-Men, and all of a sudden you've got a DEI masterpiece.
Yeah,
right?
You're all solved, and everyone likes the characters. We're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to change it. There's no need to add, remove, modify any of this stuff. It already exists. People already love these characters. Just give them what they love, and you'll have your DEI. You'll have all your requirements. You'll get to check all your boxes, and you'll make some damn money. It doesn't. Yeah. It makes no sense that why they wouldn't use War Machine in that role. It makes no sense why the Falcon would end up being Captain America. None of this makes sense.
The Falcon was already awesome, and we had Bucky teed up to become Captain America.
We don't need him to be another character. Let the Falcon be Falcon. He's already in the movie. You don't need anything else. He's already Bucky's partner. You already have your DEI. You don't have to switch it up. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Oh my God. Okay. Anyways, I do think Dr. Doom. It's so hard. I have a really hard time with tangents, Blaine.
No, it's good. It's good. I can feel your blood pressure here.
Yeah,
it's
I can feel it in my neck right now. It's like, I do believe Dr. Doom will be the villain, the undercover secret surprise villain of Deadpool, and I think the Cassandra Nova thing is a red herring. And I said it here first, or maybe not first, but I did say it. All right. Oh, Christopher, what's up, Christopher? Go. All right. Moving on. We got one more story before we go to the member section. This is a good one, man. Right. We're talking about Dr. Phil McGraw. First off, I didn't know McGraw was his last name. Did you?
I didn't either. I had no idea. It makes it better, honestly.
It does.
It really does.
I have, and at no point in my 40 years did I. First off, he's not even a doctor, which is even weirder to me. I did not know that Dr. Phil is not a doctor, because that's what I've been calling him my entire life. And his last name was McGraw. But it really works, because what I'm about to show you is amazing. And I'm gonna try to clip through it a little bit so we don't get copyright claimed here, because it's gonna be like The View. It's Dr. Phil on The View, and the View is gnarly about copyright claims. They don't want anyone talking about them unless it's nice things. Dr. Phil totally owns, just dominates the room full of harpies, and he does it with a smile. And he has them smiling, even though you can tell they want to yell at him, they just can't, because it's Dr. effing Phil. It's a masterpiece.
He's just emanating "I'm smarter than you" vibes, and they're just all like, "It's great."
What do you mean? I also want to translate what I think he wanted to say at the very end of this, because I do believe that in his head there was a different dialogue going on. And then he turned around and said, the nice Dr. Phil thing. Here we go.
Last year,
Dr. Phil
you aired the final episode of the Dr. Phil show.
I'm going to skip through it. First off, they're talking about him airing the final episode of Dr. Phil. Who cares? Blah, 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 blah. Right? So he aired his final episode. He's starting a new TV show where it's like investigative journalism, like old school investigative journalism. He's going to go down to the border. He's going to go down to Washington. He's going to go to Cleveland. He's going to go to wherever, Flint, Michigan, wherever the story takes him. He's going to go there. He's going to get the real facts, He's going to talk to Americans about what's great about this is this guy, people trust him. Like
right.
my mom is like, Dr. Phil's awesome, right? So people trust him. And so now you have someone who's actually trusted, who's going to tell you the truth. Wow. Okay. Sign me up. So they're talking about his new job, right?
I want no more.
There was, and then there wasn't?
Yes,
10
and
years of
10
no
years.
Yeah, okay, 10 years.
And I don't think they went from.
Somebody's like hugely pissed about something. Feelings. And
I'm going to skip for a little more. All right. This is the border stuff.
spin.
Yeah,
We're
the fact that
just
he even
Apple.
said
It
like
was in
propaganda-free
02.
news, essentially, I was just like, whoa, holy crap. I can't believe anybody on the mainstream would say that.
Right. So he's talking about the border situation and how kids are being trafficked, right? Because they are. There's kids being trafficked. It's not just him that has said this. Multiple people have come out and said that this is a problem, and we're ignoring it because, and you know, there's sorry, full screen again. There's something really dirty about ignoring the trafficking of kids because you don't want your side to look bad. Like, stop doing that. It's okay. I'll give you a mulligan here if you stop the kids being trafficked, right? I'll let you off. I won't criticize you for this, but like, you can't bury it because it makes your idea look bad. Like, that's not okay. So he talks about it here. Here we go.
Understanding is that you went to the southern border. Now you're saying that you're going to give people facts. What did you take away from that experience, and what kind of reporting are you going to be bringing back from that experience?
I'll tell you a fact I took away. I talked to the head of all the border guards down there, the head of the union. I asked him straight up, kids are coming over the border with numbers written.
The numbers he's talking about, by the way, is, and you can see them in photos, some of these kids actually have numbers written on their arms. Like, not just phone numbers. Like, sometimes it's like a serial number. And you're like, what? What is this? Like, what's going on here? And what it is basically they need to be sponsored by someone. So, like, the border patrol, you know, the border agents will actually call the person that is sponsoring this kid that's crossing over.
On them, phone numbers and addresses. Do we check those out? He said, well, we call them. Is it possible that we're sending them into known prostitution rings or sweatshops? He said, it's not possible. It is absolute.
Jesus. It's not possible. It's absolute. And just remember, this is on The View in the morning. Right? It's so... Okay.
I honestly can't even believe they let him do it.
I don't think they expected it, man. And The View is live, right?
Right.
Like, you know, Whoopi Goldberg, she's like half in the bag already. You know, she's on her fourth wine cooler already. So they talk more about the kids being trafficked. They talk about some of their sources, blah blah blah, and you know it's happening. So his new show is going to be investigative journalism, and then they get into the COVID thing and how it affected kids, and this is where he gets this mic drop moment. So good.
Since records have ever been kept. And it's just continued on and on and on. And to that are the agencies that shut away
Who died.
Okay, here we go. So this is where they criticize him.
They were trying to save children.
and in fact sent them home and abandoned them to their abusers.
Sorry, back up again.
2 years. Knew then, and it's just continued on and on and on. And then COVID hits 10 years later, and the same agencies that knew that are the agencies that shut down the schools for 2 years.
I love his, look at his face right there. He's like, all the same agencies that shut down the school for 2 years. So remember, when it comes to the COOF, these kids are, children were the lowest possible affected age group. In fact, there's a lot of questions about kids that died, whether they died from the flu or they died from COVID, because there's a lot of things. It's very muddy situation. For like 2 years, there were no flu deaths.
Right.
Why were there no flu deaths for like 2 years? Because every flu death was being attributed to COVID. So the normal amount of flu deaths you would have for kids you had, but they attributed that to COVID because all flu deaths for almost 2 years was basically blamed on COVID. So he has a good point here. So they shut down the school for 2 years. This is what he goes on to say.
Who does that? Who takes away the...
Who does that? Who takes away school for kids? It's like we're seeing this guy like he got all the information for once. He's like, whoa, wait a minute here, folks.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
that's what
I'm
this
just saying,
entire
right, okay.
That's what it feels like. Like he just recently, like someone told him everything. And he's like, "Shit, I've got to start a news network. Somebody needs to know about this."
Yeah, bro. It's like he just figured it out or something. He's like tripping out. Yeah. All right, so he goes on.
support system for these children? Who takes them away and shuts it down? And by the way, when they shut it down, they stopped the mandated reporters from being able to see children that were being abused.
And this is another thing. I didn't even know this. When they shut down the school and they shut down like the whole system, they made it so that the workers that were supposed to be checking up on these kids that were being reported to be abused no longer did so. So we shut down the school, sent kids back to their potential abusers, and then didn't check up on them for 2 years. Jesus, that's terrifying.
And things like suicide rate went up as well, which
big
nobody
time.
talks about.
Yeah, no one talks about that.
And I mean, and it wasn't just adults; it was kids too.
No, it was kids too. And the misreporting, hospitals misreporting deaths. COVID was a bad thing, but like we did, and he says this at some point. He goes, like, we didn't handle it right. We really mishandled this, and our kids are going to suffer for it. That's the point he's trying to make. Here, I won't continue. It's almost over.
Sexually molested, and in fact sent them home and abandoned them to their abusers with no way to watch, and referrals dropped 50 to 60%. So
there was also a pandemic going on, and they were trying to save.
Now this is when they're trying to. This is when they're like, well, there's a pandemic going on. They're trying to run interference for whatever. Yeah. I don't know. Why are we always doing that? Why are we running interference for these like corrupt politicians and people that make, or maybe just bad? Maybe they're just bad at their jobs. Look, it's okay. Look, Dr. Fauci, bro. If you made a mistake, just own it. Like, don't lie about it. Like 2 years later, like we were all there. Why are we running interference for people that were either inept at their jobs or they're lying to save their own ass? Why are we running interference for them? Why is anyone running interference for someone like that? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It's like, at what point did we all these folks just decide like, oh, we're on board with big pharma and, big government and all of these things. We're just, whatever they say, whatever they say goes. And just because
known rebels, like, dude, Rage Against the Machine. I grew up listening to Rage. They're the anarchy, right? Rage Against the Machine was promoting Pfizer. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like,
no.
Have you forgotten?
Rage Against these nuts.
Yeah, Rage Against these nuts, man. Like, have you forgotten what happened to you guys? Like, who just blindly trusts big pharmaceutical companies? Who does that?
God. Yeah.
I think, and I'm blaming Republicans too. It's not just them. It's all of them. They all just took the blue pill and said, trust the system. Oh, F off. The system never worked for me. Does it work for everyone else? Does it work? Like, there's a reason why I'm an entrepreneur. Why you're an entrepreneur. The system doesn't work for us. The system abandoned us. It abandoned most of us. The system only works. Guess who the system works for? The system. The system works for the system. The rest of us are just cogs in an never-ending machine of despair. You have to step out of the system and make your own way. And part of that is not trusting the system. Sorry. Jesus Christ.
Facts. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Totally agree, man.
Let's finish this. There's a minute left.
They were trying to save kids'
Hopefully I can get through this without having an anemorrham.
It's all right.
lives.
I'll carry on.
We know a lot of folks who died during this.
She's just already drunk. It's like, yeah, but we know a lot of folks that died from this. Okay, all right. We're not. No one is saying that didn't happen. Whoopi, no one is saying that. Please, Phil, please correct this person right now.
So it wasn't, people weren't laying around eating Bond, but,
he just said not school children. And that, again, this is on live television, network TV in the morning. Holy moly. Like, dude, we couldn't say this on YouTube a year ago.
Seriously.
Like a year ago, if I would have said that on YouTube, my channel would have been banned. Right? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Okay.
You know what? We're lucky. Maybe we're lucky they didn't because we kept them out of.
Sorry, I gotta go. Look at Dr. Phil's face here.
Well, you know what? We're lucky. Maybe we're.
That's like.
That is just a bitch, please. Like that is what it just reads. It might as well be a meme.
You can hear him breathing. All right.
We're lucky they didn't because we kept them out of the places that they could be sick because no one wanted to believe we had an issue.
Are you
spit it out, Whoopi? Jesus.
Saying no school children died of COVID?
Are you saying no school children died of COVID? This is the problem. We don't actually know.
Right.
Because for 2 years, you reported every flu death, actual normal influenza death, as a coof death. We don't know. So the narrative is, well, of course they did. We don't actually know. But what we do know is that the lowest at-risk group was kids in school.
I'm saying it was the safest group. They were the less vulnerable group.
I got to pause it because what he said was, no, I'm saying it was the safest group. It was the less vulnerable group. What he wanted to say was, no, you corrupt lizard person. Listen to my words. All right. Let him finish what he's going to say.
And they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Woo! Now, the way they said that, I got to play it one more time because it was so damn epic.
But then they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Well,
she's like, okay, commercial break now, please.
Yeah, she literally said, she goes, well, we don't have time to talk about that right now. We got to go to commercial break. Like, oh, sure. Oh, yeah, whatever you say, boss. Yeah. Do they realize they were at a commercial break 8 minutes and 36 seconds ago, right? It's not, by the way, like I went and looked, the View doesn't go to commercial every 8 minutes, but for some reason they went to commercial a full 2.5 minutes ahead of schedule the second he said that line.
She said, Phil, do you realize that Pfizer is one of our sponsors? You need to shut your mouth.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Pfizer, and that's what the problem is. You got to follow the money, right? And the money goes, here's the money. The second billions of dollars are being offered to a network for you to cover their ads or whatever, that means that network can no longer speak honestly without losing that money.
Yep.
Follow the money. Follow all the networks, all the shows that were sponsored by Pfizer. Hey, man, I used to love Stephen Colbert, but that dude was literally sponsored by a pharmaceutical company. He literally had dancing vaccines as part of an ad. I'm sorry. I don't trust you anymore, dude.
The level in which these people have sold out is just honestly impressive at this point. And the fact that now it almost seems like it's like this collective thing of like, if I ever agreed with any of this narrative, if I ever at any point said anything that was on board with all of this stuff, I can never say I was wrong. Ever.
Right. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, that's what drives me nuts. Why can't you just admit you were wrong? I didn't have all the information. I was told by people I trusted. I was told, I had to get the vaccine to keep my job. It doesn't matter. Like, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. What are we? What are we? A bunch of 3-year-olds? Like, just admit if you admit you didn't have all the information and you were scared. And it's okay to be scared. It's okay. I get scared sometimes, and when I get scared, I make bad decisions. That happens sometimes. I get afraid, and I might make a hasty decision that hurts my YouTube channel, or my pocketbook, or my car, or whatever. But what I don't do ever is lie about it for months and years afterwards. That's what I don't do.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to the members section where it's nice and warm because, and Shane's calling me. I'm going to pick that up while we go to the members section. Come on into the members section. It's awesome. Hit the join button below and join me and Blaine there. Blaine, I'm sure, has an awesome story to tell us, and you don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
If you're not a member, hit the join button. Come on down.